Welcome to another podcast from FM Environmental. Today we're going to talk about how to commission your Grease Guardian. So you've received your Grease Guardian. This, for example, is a D1 model, right to left. How do we know that? Because our inlet is coming from the right hand side and it's exiting through the left hand side. This particular unit serves a busy kitchen with possibly one, maybe two pot wash sinks, serving maybe about 100 meals per day typically. But check with your distributor to make sure that you have the right sizing. So what we're going to do with the unit, first of all, is run through a few basic checks. First of all, have we got the unit plugged in? So we can see from the screen that the unit is currently plugged in. Let's have a look inside the unit. Okay, so you've received delivery of your new Grease Guardian. Let's have a look at what you have. But first of all, once it's installed, you need to do a few basic checks. First of all, let's have a look to see if you have access to the strainer basket. You can do this by opening this particular section of the lid, hinges back, and yes, I can remove my basket safely to be able to dispose of the waste that's inside it. Let's look at the rest of the compartment. Okay, inside this particular section, you need to be checking to make sure that the main function of the unit, which is the skimming, is actually ready for operation. And for this, you need to have a wiper blade. So just make sure that that wiper blade is attached onto the axle as such. Sometimes you may find on opening the unit that the wiper blade maybe isn't there. Just check the bottom of the tank to see if it's actually in there, and hang it off the skimming wheel like that. The next thing we need to do is to check that you can remove the grease collection container. Now sometimes you'll find an installation that maybe the leg table is getting in the way, preventing the bucket from actually being pulled out. So what you can do, with the aid of a screwdriver, you can undo the screws here, pull that out, thereby allowing you to remove the collection bucket safely. Next, you want to check that your pipework is correctly aligned to get into and out of the Grease Guardian. We generally recommend that you should use either 1.5 inches, that's 40 millimeters, or 2-inch pipework, that's 50 millimeters, to connect the Grease Guardian. Here we have it. We'll just check to make sure that we have a constant gravity fall into the unit. Yes, that's correct. And again, we check to make sure that the pipework is correctly aligned on the outlet side. And yes, in this case, we also have a gravity fall down. Grease Guardian also supplies the couplers as part of the standard package. The Grease Guardian, like any mechanical product, does have a certain amount of maintenance involved in it, but this maintenance only takes a few minutes of your time. Very, very straightforward. Staff on a daily basis will have a couple of things to do. First thing they need to do is remove the solid waste basket, dump the rubbish into a bin, wash it down and replace. Second item is to remove the wiper blades where sediment might have accumulated or grease will have accumulated on that. Again, wash this down and replace. Thirdly is to remove the collection bucket, which will have filled maybe to half the bucket, depending on the skimming cycle. You can put this into a recyclable oil bin and dispose of it that way. And lastly, just make sure that your collection channel is free of any accumulation of grease in it. Maybe just use a little wire brush to clean this down, and that's the end of your maintenance on a daily basis. We've been a little bit clever in Grease Guardian as well to try and make this job a little bit easier for you. What we've done is that we've included a 24-hour timer in it. So if the grease trap hasn't been maintained in the 24 hours since the last maintenance, a little alarm will go off to indicate that the service is due. Sometimes in your installation you may need additional equipment to supplement it. In this particular case, we have the Grease Guardian supported on a frame to raise it off the ground. That'll help with meeting your levels as well as the requirements maybe of environmental health. We also have other equipment such as the sink strainer to stop solid food waste from getting down in the first instance, or we would have coffee filters or food waste traps as well to be able to remove those nasty bits of food that get down and can block up your grease trap. Okay, we're nearly at the point where we're ready to get our Grease Guardian operating and get it programmed. Few final checks to be done. One is that you want to make sure that the unit is not obstructed, and also you need to inform the staff that they need to keep the unit unobstructed so that daily maintenance can be done in it. So first of all, again, just to refresh, what we need to do is just make sure that this area here is kept free so the staff have access to the strainer basket, to the wiper blades inside. Also as well, that there's free access to the control panel. You want to be able to see what's going on with the screen. The staff need to be able to see when there's an alarm. And finally, make sure that the grease bucket is accessible. Again, very, very important. Otherwise, this is just going to overflow, and if the staff aren't able to see it or aren't able to access it. A couple of final electrical checks. First of all, you need to make sure that the grease guardian is filled with water up to the inlet-outlet level. There is a heater out inside, so you need to protect that. Secondly, you need to make sure that your grease guardian is connected to a 30 milliamp circuit breaker. If you have any questions, please refer to the grease guardian O&M manual that would have come supplied with your unit, or contact your local grease guardian distributor. Okay, we're happy with the installation. Join me in part 2 of this commissioning video, where we'll have a look at how to program the cycles of the unit.